Hey everybody, it's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of the Team Building Podcast. Thank you so much for checking this episode out. Every month we do a couple of different types of episodes, and this particular one is with our success manager Andy Kueny, and it's all about the relationship and the coaching of agents on your team. It's super critical. It feeds into every part of your success. Lead follow-up is a huge part of that, and we talked in our last episode about how Andy runs his one-on-one meetings with agents to hold them accountable to the lead follow-up process and all that stuff. We're going to get into some of the other ways that Andy uses motivation, peer motivation, transparency, the Geckoboards that are in our office, and all this stuff that kind of helps the agent stay on track, how he connects that to their big why, and how getting more deeply involved or at least knowledgeable and informed about their personal life has really changed his relationship with the agents and how willing they are to not only just perform and do kind of what they're supposed to do, but also just build that emotional connection. So let's get into it. Andy, what's up today?
Hey, Matt, I'm excited to be here, man. I'm ready to talk about accountability and motivation.
That's right. Yeah, it's going to be a fun conversation. So for anybody that, if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to hit subscribe. And then, of course, if you're on iTunes or Stitcher, subscribe there as well to the audio versions. We do one of these every month. And in the future, we're not just going to be talking to Andy. We're actually going to put Andy in a mastermind session with somebody else that coaches agents either on a team or on a coaching level actively every day in the trenches coaching agents. And then we're going to let them mastermind back and forth. But for now, it's just me and Andy kind of masterminding on like goal setting and motivation and all this cool stuff. So let's talk about the Geckoboards first. That's something that I think people are super interested in. What does that do for you guys? And for people that aren't familiar with it, what is the Geckoboard?
Okay, so to start out, we have a Geckoboard is something that our operations manager, Kevin McGowan, put together for us. It's a really cool software. We have it up on our in our main office area. It's on an 80-inch TV running all the time. So it serves multi-purposes. It gives the stats for the team, what the team averages are, days on market, all of those types of things. But more importantly, for my benefit or my area, is what it does is it is peer accountability. So what it's going to do is it's going to have every agent on the team ranked 1 to however many you've got. So we've got 22. So it's going to be 1 through 22, and they're going to rank you one. Highest producing agent's going to be on top, lowest producing agent's on the bottom. So it's built-in motivation. Everybody sees this. The first thing you see when you walk in the front door to the office, right? It's the one everybody asks about. Right, okay. Exactly. It's blaring. It's glaring you down with on 80-inch screen TV, high def.
That's right. So, love it.
Yes. So another thing it also does is it breaks down your goals, each agent's goals, into monthly goals, and it'll let you know where each agent is at that month. Right. So if your goal is 5 units this month, it'll let you know, have you done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, right? So it also,
and this is on a bell curve, right? So if I remember seeing this when it was actually a physical board, like when it was listed out by the month, you could actually see their goal, like for December was 1, and their goal for June might be 5 or 4, right?
Yep. It'll absolutely have their goal listed below, and then what their actual count is right above it. Okay. And then every time they hit their goal, their number turns green. So it's kind of like, they've made it to the promised land. Every time it hits green, agents always are excited because someone's going next door for a happy hour drink. That means they hit their goal.
Nice.
They're always inviting people. Yes. So it's not, and it's nice. You know what? And it's important for me because obviously with 22 agents on the team, I can walk out in the main area, be getting a soda or a water, and I can say, you know what? Agent 1, 2, and 7, those are the agents I need to reach out to today, because they're crushing it. They're having such a great month. I want to make sure I give them that positive motivation or that positive feedback, right? Shoot them a text, something little. I also see those agents who were hitting the end of the month and maybe they haven't put a deal together yet, right? And so I can reach out and say, hey, how's your week going? I know we spoke on Monday, but how's everything going? You know what I mean? How have the calls been going? How is, whatever. Check in with whatever specific thing about them that I can. So those are the 2 biggest public reminders for myself. Now, obviously, with the team, it's what we found is that with the Geckoboard, they'll be divided up into groups. It just seems to happen that way. So we've got about 5 agents at the top that are only a couple deals apart, okay. Right? So it's always, what's Sarah doing? Well, how's Mike doing? You know what I mean? It's like built-in competition. Like, this is our group. This is our heat in the race. And then you got the next group that are all about five units apart, and then you keep going down. So everybody's kind of grouped together. So you're already built in with like peer competitors, right? You're put in the pile with about 4 to 5 agents we've seen is where it ends up grouping. And it really helps. Everybody's always striving to not only win their group, but hop into the next group.
Gotcha. And that just kind of happened organically.
It's just kind of happened. So there's always somebody a little bit better than you. You know what I mean? There's always somebody who's doing a few more units. And the nice thing about it is Kevin McGowan, our operations manager, he updates it on a daily basis, on an hourly basis sometimes. So as the deals come in and they're reported, it's real time, man. You move up or down the ladder.
That's awesome.
I had an agent already today. They looked a little upset, and I said, hey, what's going on? You seem a little stressed. And they said, well, the agent right behind me put together 2 deals last night, so now I'm only ahead by 1.
Ooh.
My cushion's gone. So what was she doing? Cushion was gone. She's in here making phone calls, right?
Nice.
So I was like, that's great, and I didn't have to do a thing. You know what I mean? Nice. So it's nice. It's nice for me because it's a reminder of who should I be reaching out to. You know what I mean? It's everybody's names up in lights. It's also motivation for the agents. You know, you don't want to fall a group behind. You're always trying to strive to get to that next group up. So it's been wonderful since we started it.
Now, what about, we haven't talked about this a lot, but the call blitzes, does that kind of feed into that peer motivation? Do enough people show up that they see the other people that are in the other groups and kind of keep an eye on what they're doing when they're on the phone?
Oh, yes, and I take advantage of that. So if say there's I'll just throw out 2 names, Mike and Sarah, right? Mike's ahead by 1 deal. Sarah's trying to catch him. Sarah was at she was at dialogue training. She was working on FISBO rebuttals, and then she was at call blitz hammering it out for 2 calls, and I know she set 3 appointments. You know that I'm letting Mike know that, right? I'm like, hey man, just a heads up, Sarah was in here hammering out calls. She set 4 appointments. You know what I mean? Just FYI, with a little smiley face at the end of it, right? Yeah. And it's those types of things, because nobody wants a doom and gloom slave driver cracking the whip. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't need to do that. Sarah's doing it for me, right? Yeah. Sarah is cracking that whip on Mike for me. I am just facilitating the information. So right. You know what I mean? And that makes it so much easier. And but that doesn't happen overnight either. You know what I mean? Mike and Sarah know each other. You know what I mean? They've been here for a while together. It takes time to create that culture, but we've got to do our best. If you can create a situation where it's not you driving it, but you're just, you know what I mean? You're just steering it. You're not the power behind it, but you're just helping to steer. It's so much easier. And it means more. I think it means more to Mike than I'm not harping on him to make more calls or sell more deals. I just got to point out Sarah, right? Yep. And that's wonderful. I love it.
That's interesting. I like that a lot. All right, so let's talk about like the whole concept of subject matter experts and how that works within the team.
Absolutely. So on our team here, we do, I believe it's 16. Sorry, we have 16 topics that we do training on, and we do 1 topic every Friday. So 4 topics a month. And what we've done, we've broken them down. And typically, when we first started out, it was Jeff. On our team, It was Jeff doing every training, right? Then it started out with Jeff would do a training, and then Kevin and I would start doing trainings based on, our area of expertise. Then we started branching out. We had a guy on our team who was crushing Mojo using a Mojo dialer. Was 1,000 calls, 1,500 calls a week, was getting great success from it. Well, we brought him in and said, hey, would you want to do the Mojo dialer training for the team so that everybody else can understand how to do it? Mm-hmm. So this helped in a lot of ways. First off, it gave him part ownership, right? Now he's helping to create the team, not just a part of it, right? So he took ownership of it, and now this doesn't always work with everybody, right? So it's kind of a testing market. But he wrapped his arm around it, did great. We showed up. He had a PowerPoint presentation ready to go. He had some calls recorded to listen to. He had a 7-page pamphlet on how much money he's made from just Mojo calls and how much time it takes, and call to contact ratio, appointment set. I mean, it was wonderful. It's everything you'd want, right? And so now he's taken ownership of that. And because it carries more weight, if I go out there and tell everybody they should use Mojo because this is what we're seeing nationally, okay. Yeah. If you got the guy, exactly, sure, yep,
so
okay.
That was the sound of me. I just fell asleep and picked myself back up before.
Exactly, right? Yes. So, but if I get an agent on the team who's physically doing it in our office, in our market, right in front of them,
dude, it
speaks volumes, man. It speaks volumes.
Yeah, so we've seen this went up to when we did that one speaking engagement in Canada for the workshop. Just that little creeping doubt of, well, can it really work here? Just having the agent telling you, yeah, I did that last week, and it worked, and I have 3 appointments this week. That's so big.
It is. Because everybody wants to lead with doubt. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody wants to believe, because guess what? If you believe it, then you got to do it, right? Yeah. And that's like, oh. So, but it's huge. It is huge for him to be sitting there, and he owned it, and it's one of our agents' favorite trainings now. And
that's crazy.
we doubled the amount of people. It used to be dragging them to get them to use the Mojo dialer that was provided for the team. Now I bet we have 7 agents on our team who have purchased their own Mojo dialer. Right? They don't even use the team. They have their own account.
All right, so we'll quickly diverge off of that and tell me why that is, because Mojo's integrated with the team's Boomtown, right?
It is.
So why are they buying their own Mojo?
Because they're calling more than just Boomtown leads. We're doing circle prospecting, you know what I mean? All of those types of things.
So why don't we provide that, like the neighborhood mapping feature from Mojo? Do we not provide that to the agents as part of just the Mojo that's integrated in Boomtown?
No. Boomtown, when you use Mojo and Boomtown, you can only call the leads within Boomtown that are already in there.
Oh, and so you can't just map out and draw, suck 1,000 names into Boomtown? Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So they're going out and saying, look, I'll take this on myself. The guy that was doing it took it upon himself. He had Mojo already. I remember that. So they're taking it upon themselves and saying, look, we'll call more than our Boomtown leads. We'll go out and circle prospect, essentially.
Right. Which, if you circle back 3 buckets, you know what I mean? Boomtown's one. You got to be prospecting on your own. So absolutely. So it all ties together. But that was wonderful. Next, we had an agent on our team, Clayton, and he's huge into social media. Yeah. Kids on Facebook all the time. We asked him, hey, do you want to do social media training for us? Would love to, right? And he was not one of the top producing agents on the team. He was kind of middle of the pack, maybe even the lower half, right? Since doing this, it almost motivates, it's self-motivating, because he said, well, if I'm going to be counted on to be a person to be doing training, then I got to be towards the top of the, you know what I mean? It was just.
Oh, really? That just came out. That just popped out. That's crazy. Yeah, that guy looks like he has not a care in the world. You know,
he doesn't, dude. He doesn't.
He's got to be one of the lowest ambition people, and it's just happy. Like, he just seems like he's genuinely happy with his life.
Always in a good mood, right? Yeah. And so then last year, and ever since we started the second half, he had his best 6 months ever, and he ended up selling 32 units.
Holy cow!
Yeah. The guy had never done more than 14 before.
That's
awesome.
And he
did 31 units, right? Okay. And so again, it's a public showing of somebody on the team who can do it and what success they're having from it. Now, we don't throw Clayton up there unless he's actually having success with it, right? Okay. So now he's having success with it. We've got probably at least half of the agents on our team boosting posts on Facebook. He just did Facebook Live last week, so now they're doing Facebook Live videos. You know what I mean? So it's awesome. Very different between me saying, again, hey, I just went to this national training on Facebook Live, and this is what you guys should be doing. Nope, I'm going to put Clayton up there, and Clayton's going to show his real life examples and how much money he's made off it, how it's helped him.
Okay, so let's go a little deeper on that. So let's say you did find something, and nationally you come back from a conference and you're like, oh my God, Facebook Live is amazing. Nobody in the office is doing it. There's nobody you can point to that's having success. Now, there's the first of all, the logical approach, number one, is if you're still in the business, you do it yourself and start tinkering around and improve it, which there's that approach. But let's say you wanted to, like, what else could you do? Would you take it to an agent and say, look, I have this thing. We want to experiment and see if this will get you business. I will help you do this. Are you willing to, like, go in on this with me, and let's make that, run it as a 2-week or a 4-week experiment and see if we come up with something?
Absolutely. I got a case in point that we just did today. Okay.
Really?
So with Boomtown, we have the seller suite. We have a number of leads coming in that are address only, right? They put in their evaluation. They don't get when it's time to put in your contact information, they bail.
Yeah.
I still get that address. I use RPR integration. I pop open their the contact information, name, phone number, all that. Okay. So what I did is we have thousands of these leads coming in, right, over the last couple of years. So what I did is, once I got done with the training on this, I came back. I have my own agent, Emily. She's on my personal team.
Yeah.
Said, you and I are going to work this, right? So we started working it, just her and I, and we were able to start setting appointments. It was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I hate giving it up, but you got to put on the hat for, not just me, it's about the team too. Okay. So today I did CMA training, and then afterwards, at the end of my CMA training for the team, I did a RPR integration and how to work the seller lead suite. So I went in, showed all the agents how to do it, and we were able to put up my numbers, mine, Emily's numbers, on what we had with contacts and appointments, things like that. And it took us about 5 weeks. We've been running with it to get those kinds of numbers. So yeah,
that's cool.
So,
very, very cool.
As long as you can show something, right? Is it show success from it. It's a huge motivator. And then also if you can have their peers, you know what I mean? Have a peer doing it. If it can't always come from management.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is management's job to find those who will facilitate it well, right?
Okay.
So you always got to be looking for talent that can help you in the process.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. All right. So let's dive into some of the psychological stuff of the actual one-on-one agent coaching and kind of how you're dealing with their various motivations. So we talked about the peer motivation. We talked about like the subject matter experts and how that kind of motivates them by giving them something to be an expert at, which is awesome. And then kind of trying things out on yourself first. But when you're doing like your one-on-ones and stuff like that, like what are you? I know they're setting like a 7-day goal, something to advance their business that kind of ties into the bigger picture. But like, when do you guys sit down and figure out what that bigger picture is, and how do you remind them of that and kind of bring them back to that over the course of, let's say, a year?
Okay, so what we do is obviously they have their 7-day goals. I'm meeting with them every week, and we'll recap that 7-day. What's our next 7-day, right? What's our past look like? What's our next 7 look like? And that's great. That's easy. But they've all got to be feeding into something bigger, right? Okay. So then we'll break it down into monthly goals, and we'll see, are they consistently hitting their weekly goals that will help them surpass their monthly goal, right? Or are they consistently not getting there? Yeah. Then we have quarterly, and then obviously it's yearly. So it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. That's not groundbreaking, right? Everybody should be doing that. If you're not, that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
But the issue is that when you're asking them about their goals, everybody wants to make a lot of money. Right? Everybody wants to have more time, things like that. But you've got to ask them, you've got to make sure in those meetings and when you're goal setting that you're asking about personal goals just as much as you are those business goals. Because somebody can tell me they want to make $100,000 a year. Why? Why do you want to make $100,000 a year? Well, guess what? Maybe it's I want to make sure that I can get my kids' college fund started, right? I can pay off this debt, XYZ debt. Whatever it is, you hear that kind of stuff. Oh, we want to move into a bigger house because we want to have more kids. Everybody's got different goals like that. So for somebody to come in and say, I want to make a lot of money, that doesn't help me. You know what I mean? I want to know why you want to make a lot of money. What do you want to do with that money? And then I file those things away for me. Those things I do not make public, right? We always talk about all the numbers. Everybody can see everything. It's all out there in front of you. This is the stuff that you keep to yourself.
Yeah, the big why, the dream.
Absolutely. And so we do those vision boards. One mistake I see a lot of people make when they're doing a vision board is they come in and it's 7 things, and they're all things that are going to take them a lifetime to accomplish, right? Okay. It's good to have those things on there. Like you said, you want that big why, right? You got to have that one that's like, oh, that's always on my vision board, right? Okay. They've got to have things that are attainable in the short term as well. Yeah. Otherwise, your vision board becomes this thing that's never accomplished. It's just like having short-term, long-term goals, right? So what do I want to do this month? I want to be able to double my mortgage payment. Perfect, right? That's the 1-month goal. Did we accomplish it? The longer-term goal is debt-free, right? Or having money to do other things. So they've got to not only feed into each other, but you've got to have some that are short-term versus long-term so that they can actually accomplish something and feel like they're progressing through the process.
Yeah, there's 2 really good, I don't know, different approaches to this, like how to connect kind of your big why to your daily actions and stuff like that. Right. One that I thought was really good is just very, very logical, very linear. And if you go to like just Google search for the lock-on report, it's the stuff that's there. It's amazing. I know the guy that developed that whole like goal setting system, but what he talks about in there is that you have to you connect that big thing, which he calls your dream, and then you break it down into the yearly actions, the weekly, and the monthly, weekly, and so forth. Like you bring it down to the day. What is his term for it is the victory. Like what is today's victory that's going to move me the next step that leads in a perfectly linear, logical fashion to this thing over here that's in the distance. And if you have like if it's like real estate is perfect for that, because if you want to make $100,000 a year, like this has been done 1,000 times over by a million different people. It can be done over and over again. It's really just a matter of the calls and the ratios and the percentages and stuff like that. Just figuring out the calls that need to be made that'll work for your personality. So it's really easy to break down. Now you take someone like Greg McDaniel, whose goal is to be worth $650 million and have $100 million liquid cash all at the same time. Then you're talking about the other thing, right? So when you have this big, massive dream and you really don't know like how you're going to get there because there is no linear, logical progression to get there, that's when you start having to set those intermediate goals that have really nothing to do with the end goal. They're just those rewards, you know, whether it's the trip, a bucket list, like Jeff's trip to Vietnam that he'll be on in a couple of weeks. Like there's just those things that like keep you motivated on a day-to-day basis.
They keep you grinding.
Yeah, they keep you grinding, not because they necessarily connect with the end thing, although they can, but just like those rewards, something to work towards that motivates your daily action. You know?
Yep, absolutely. I agree. Nice job, Matt.
Well, how do you implement that stuff with your agents, though? Let's go back to the vision board and stuff like that. I want you to explain, like, how do you take someone? So we know if someone wants to make $100,000 a year, that's a pretty typical goal. But let's say someone, you mentioned someone on a previous conversation. I don't think it was on a podcast or anything, but there's a gal that is already doing well. She wants to sell the same exact amount. She wants to cut the amount of time in half, which is an amazing goal. I love that goal. Right?
Yep.
Awesome. She's already achieved, like she's already making the money she wants. Now let's cut the time in half it takes to make that money. So how do you connect that? Like it's not about how many calls did you make.
Right. Okay. So what we've talked with her, and actually she met one of her goals this past Monday, which was huge. So this is a perfect example. Nice job. So it's almost like we planned that, although we did not.
We actually didn't. Yeah, it's great.
I know. That's what's perfect about it. So she on the team, she was a mid 30s, lower 40s unit type agent, making her 100,000. She'd done it 3 years in a row, right? She is much more interested in starting a family, getting married, right? Going on vacations, traveling. She wants more time. She doesn't want more. She doesn't need more money. She wants more time. So we have gone a few different avenues. One, we have taught her how to start doing her own lead generation. Right, which in turn starts helping her. She can make more money.
Yeah, weaning her off of the Boomtown lead at the 50-50 split, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So now to be a member of the team, you still got to be working those Boomtown leads, right? But you're making less money per lead or per deal. So we have talked to her about. So she's already taken care of her own lead generation, and she actually texted me this morning. She put together another buyer from her own lead gen, which was wonderful. Secondly, she just hired her first buyer's agent on Monday.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So that now, just to get, I'm just going to guess to see where this is going and see if I understand it correctly. So she's hired a buyer's agent on her own personal team within the team. Is that buyer's agent now able to take over her obligation for working her Boomtown leads?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And so Veronica will get a portion of that. She'll get a split of those deals that are done. So the agent, she's happy. She's feeding the agent those deals, right? Veronica can start working her own lead gen, right? So the team's happy because the team's leads are getting worked, right, by somebody who's hungry. Veronica's happy because she's getting a cut of that, right? That's passive income. All she's doing is training. Next is Veronica's working her own lead sources and her own lead gen, so she's making a larger percentage. So Veronica last year did 38 units, made just a little over 100,000, I believe. This year, she's probably going to be closer to mid to upper 20s, and she'll still make close to 100,000.
Oh wow! So she cut her deals almost in half. But still made the same money.
Well, yeah, she did about 65 to 70% of what she did last year.
So okay, gotcha. Oh, still all right. Yeah. And then having someone to work those buyer leads for you. Okay, perfect. That's awesome.
Yep.
So structurally, you guys are able to, and that goes again back to we've talked a little bit about the show and in past hangouts about like the hard mental thought that goes into setting up the right systems for people. That goes back to like the hard thought of you and Jeff and Kevin sitting around and going, okay, how do we retain people long term? Yes, we would love for in perpetuity for them to just keep working on the Boomtown leads, keep giving us 50%, but really is that sustainable? Is that better for them? Depends on what they want. In this case, it's not better for her because she wants different things, right? So you guys sat down and really put in the hard thought to figure out, okay, well, how can we set up a system where we still get what we want, they can get what they want, and we retain our best people, and you guys hit on it.
Win-win. We grow our team, right? We grow our team with new agents. So it really cuts down on our recruiting efforts. We now have 22 agents out there recruiting for their own teams. Yeah. So we can double our team size without doing much recruiting. Win. We have newer agents who are hungry for those leads, right? They're hungry for those leads. They'll work them, and we can train them. They already have the system in place to train them how to work the leads. and the tools. And then you have other agents who are building those teams, who are starting to creating passive income, right? They're getting income from other people working their deals. So
that's a huge revelation.
Value add equals retention. So it's been a win-win all around so far.
Well, there's all right. So you asked me like the books that you're looking at reading, and we talked about like Managing the Professional Service Firm by David Maister. So one of the big revelations from just the first couple of chapters, if you dip into that book, or when you dip into that book, is the idea that like we have this idea in real estate that, look, if we can just get somebody to do like 80% as good as I do, it's good enough. Like we're willing to run with that, and that's fine. Like, and especially from a sales perspective, if you are a master rainmaker salesperson, dude, if you can get somebody to make 80% of the deals that you do, hire them all day long. I mean, just that's worth it. But in most professional services, and if you look at real estate as a consulting, service, you can get junior staff to do a lot of that. And the big breakthrough and the big revelation from the book Managing the Professional Service Firm is that, look, they're not only going to do just 60 or 80% as well as you, but they will be more enthusiastic. They will actually want to do it more than the seasoned, hardened veteran who has done this 1,000 times, to the point where they actually will do it better than you and will deliver a better product to the client than you will when you're tired of doing it. There's no, even with all the expertise, even though you've done it 1,000 times, somebody else that has some more skin in the game will be able to do a better job than you will. And I think that's the big breakthrough in terms of understanding, like the true understanding of leverage is that piece right there. Like, I can bring in somebody that'll actually do a better job than I can. It's not just, can I get somebody close, and I'm willing to just deal with the difference. Yeah.
Absolutely, that should be the goal, because I'll tell you how that benefits you down the road. Then, obviously, production-wise, right? Yeah. That's self-explanatory. I just brought in an agent just under about 7 months ago. My first agent, right? Brought her in. She is just almost now hitting $4 million in her first year, which in the Omaha market's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? It's
23 deals a year.
Yep. Right about there. So in her first year, right? That's better than probably 12 agents on our team. Yeah. Right. So, so she's shot up the rankings. So what we've done is, not only does that help me because of her production, but it also helps me because guess what? I can now go out when I recruit and say, hey, I added on an agent and they got to $4 million in under 10 months. And I can do that for you too. Yeah. Right. And I also have her recruiting for me, because now she is saying, you know what I mean? Yeah. I have a walking billboard right now. Yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. So, you know what I mean? So it helps you down the road for the next agent, the next agent, the next agent.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, so in the few minutes that we have left, let's dive into the. I want to get into the Andy's bag of psychological tricks a little bit, not in a negative way. I want to get into some of the things that you have to do to connect with people psychologically that have nothing to do with business but directly impact the bottom line in their performance.
Sure. So one thing that I've found, and I've learned this, over the past few years of doing this job, and I wish I would have known it sooner. It's those personal touches, because as the success manager and you're meeting with these agents one-on-one, you start to know a lot about their families, right? Their personal life, their families, what's going on behind the scenes, what motivates them. You combine that with their DISC tests, and you find out how you need to start relaying that information to them, right?
Yeah, I was curious how often you go back to their DISC test.
Oh yeah. I have to remind myself every once in a while, because if I start like banging my head into a wall with somebody and I can't figure it out, I'm like, ooh, maybe I should check their DISC. I'm going about it the wrong way. So if you got a guy who's a high D, and you know what I mean, and I know that he's been struggling with something, I can text him. My text to him throughout the week will be, hey, you know what, X, Y, and Z, and I'll throw out some numbers to him. You know what I mean? I'll throw some numbers to him to be very specific and mathematical. Mm-hmm. And say, I know you can make this. This is what you did last month. I'll check. What did you do last year? He'll be down on himself. It seems to be slower this year than last year. And I'll text him and I'll say, hey, guess what? Last May, you cranked out 9 deals. There's no reason why you can't do it again. Right? Mm-hmm. Little reminders, little things like that. There's I try to text each agent on the team once a week. So, I mean, also is huge is those little stops in the hallway. Right? Mm-hmm. We'll stop in the hallway and say, hey, I heard about, how'd that negotiation go that you were putting together yesterday, that you're all stressed out about. Hey, that CMA we helped work on, how'd that go? Did you get them at 7% or was it 6%? And then, oh, yeah, I got to tell you about that. So it's little things like that. There's also what's really important is to reach in and not have it always be so much about business. Like I've said before, is if when I do these reach outs in the hallway or these reach outs via text, if I do them about their personal life, their family, things like that, their interests, when I do reach out to them about business and how things are going, it's received so much better.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I know somebody's got a sick grandma and they had surgery, I'm just with the simple act of asking, it builds that bond or that trust, so that when I do talk to them about, matters of business, it's, oh, yep, you know what? I know Andy cares more than just about how many units am I putting together this month. He actually cares about my family, how things are going. Hey, how was kindergarten roundup? I mean, you would be amazed at the notebook I have of things about each agent. You know what I mean? And it's getting better, and I'm starting able just to retain it without doing so much of the note taking. But it's huge. And what I found is that not only does it help because it's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? It's everybody's human, and it's the right thing to do. And you do care about the people you work with. Yeah. But two, it's a much better motivation. And what I found is that they want, and see, this sounds incorrect. It's not that they want to perform for you, but it's almost like they don't want to let you down. Right. Mm-hmm. And that having somebody believe in them, truly believe in them, not believe in them and have it just be, you know what I mean, static because I want you to produce. It's Andy really wants me to hit this goal so that I can do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And so it took me a long time to really not only find out what are those things that I can reach out to them about, also how do I need to be transferring that information to them. It's really, really, it was an unexpected result. I started doing it just because I thought it's the thing I should do. And it has, the people that I can get through to on that and do that with on a regular basis perform much better, have much better attendance. Their numbers are great. Very rarely are they not hitting their goals.
Gotcha. Yeah, and just to click on the goals issue, I think we talked about this when we were kind of preparing for this. But so the team goal is, Jeff might have he has his ambition goal of where he would like to see the team go, and that reflects, okay, how do we grow, how do we recruit, stuff like that. When it really comes down to the overall team sales goal, explain how you guys are setting that versus the team agent just declaring they're going to do 700 sales this year.
Right. Well, you know what? And it's with individual goals, we work backwards, right? How much money do you want to make? How many calls? And then we break it all the way down to how many calls, and then we set our goals accordingly. Easy. With the team goals, we do it the opposite. We find out how many units does each agent want to sell to reach. How many do they need to sell to reach their own personal goals? Then we just add those up, and we come up with our team goal.
Do you know offhand what the team goal is? That cumulative number? 720?
720 or 722. It's right around there.
Gotcha. So in order for the team to hit 700, the agent has to do their job in terms of the effort and the habits that they're trying to install that will get them to where they want to go, and you, the coach of them, has to be on point to help them do that.
Correct. Absolutely. Yep.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. I think we've covered everything that I really wanted to get at. There was something that you mentioned, though, before we really started recording that I thought was really good that you didn't mention, when you kind of talking about like stopping in the hallway and texting and things like that. You talked about how it was outside of your own personal comfort zone. So tell me a little bit about that part of the coaching.
So it was, and I kind of touched on it. I didn't go down that road much, but I got out of my own comfort zone because it didn't seem like the workplace at first was where I was supposed to be doing those things, right? You know what I mean? We're supposed to keep that work type relationship, that professional relationship, and diving down that road of, going, asking about personal things, what's going on in your personal life, how is your family doing, things like that. It took a while for me to get comfortable with doing that, right? So I had to grow as a coach. You know what I mean? Or as a mentor to some of these agents, I had to grow myself and figure out, step outside. Well, I need to be trying this. You know what I mean? Because I would hear from, my wife is a marriage and family therapist. And so
that must be fun.
This is her wheelhouse.
That's
so what
correct.
She was doing is I would come home and just be talking out loud on how to help an agent. And I didn't know how to help them. And I would say 9 things about their business and 1 thing personally. And she'd pick up on that 1 thing personally, and she goes, and so she'd start asking me questions. And I think she was doing this, she was training me without telling me. And she would say, well, how is Mary's grandma doing? And I'd be like, I don't know. And so but it had been mentioned, right? Okay. So then I knew the next day, I'm like, man, I gotta ask Mary how her grandma's doing, because Katie's gonna ask me again. So I go in. So I asked Mary, and I slowly start. And how's your grandma doing? Oh, Mary lights up. She tells me the whole story. You know what? Now that explains why you've missed the last. You've had a rough week. Your call's been low the last couple weeks. You've been a caregiver. You know what I mean, for an extended family member. I get that. It just started to open up.
Yeah.
And it didn't take too long for the light bulb to kind of turn on. And I was like, oh, okay, I get this now.
That's
you know what
hilarious.
I mean? And then my wife asked for a cut of all commissions.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So we weren't going to go down.
And
right?
then there was a massive awkward silence. So like, oh, ooh, that's going into the Andy Kueny bucket list fund. I thought we were clear about this.
Exactly. Yes.
That's the mad money. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. I think we covered everything that I wanted to hopefully have covered. Perfect. And more. It's really cool that we had some on the ground examples of stuff that just came up within the last week.
Perfect,
that was
man.
Yeah, that was really, really perfect. So all right, so let's wrap it up with this. Number one, if you want to meet with Andy personally and actually sit down in one of those one-on-ones that we talked about, in the last episode we actually broke down exactly what Andy goes over in those. But if you want to see this live, that's part of the team building workshop. So go check that out. It's eliterealestatesystems.com/workshops. You can see the testimonials from other people that have been through the workshop, like Sam Monreal, for instance, who's part of Rockerbox and is a well-known coach. And a bunch of people from Go Abundance have been through the workshop, people that you know and recognize and trust. And so just go check out. All the information is there on that page. You can even pop your email in and get some travel details and stuff like that if you have some clarifying questions about Omaha and how to get there and what to do and all that good stuff. So everything you need is there. And then if you want to email either one of us, Andy, why don't you give your email out?
My email is andy@omahaselite.com.
Mm-hmm. Or I think you can email Andy at eliterealestatesystems.com as well.
Yep, sorry, yes, you can. Andy at Elite. Yep, they both forward to the same one. So,
And then for me, Matt at pursuingresults.com. I am pursuing results across every social platform: Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and then pursuingresults.com. And so if you have questions for either one of us about any of this stuff, goal setting, motivating agents, and so forth, feel free to get in contact with us. And if you want to see this stuff actually done in person with real agents, come into the 12-hour workshop, the team building workshop with us on a Monday, where you actually get to see all that stuff. And yeah, that's all I've got for that. So Andy, until our next podcast together, thank you so much.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. I had a great time.
All right.